At this stage, we want to bring in CBS News national security contributor Samantha Vinograd. She formerly served as the Assistant Secretary for Counterterrorism and Threat Prevention at the Department of Homeland Security in the Biden administration. Sam, great to have you here. We know that this debate is coming a day after the White House unveiled the illegal border crossings are down by more than 40%. They shared that stat, and they specifically point to this happening in the 3 weeks since President Biden's executive order on immigration. I would wonder that means Biden wants to mention this in tonight's debate. Do you expect that? And how might it play to Trump's advantage or disadvantage?
I think immigration is going to be one of the hottest topics on the debate stage tonight. And you are right, Errol, that the White House is keen to point to the fact that encounters of irregular migrants have dropped significantly, not only since the executive orders were rolled out, but also just over the past calendar year. However, at the same time, it is worth noting that if I were President Trump, I'd be pointing to the disparity between irregular encounters in, for example, fiscal year 2017, which were about 527,000, versus encounters in fiscal year 2023, which were about 3.2 million. So while numbers are trending downwards, there's still a big delta between when President Trump was in office at the beginning of his administration and where we are now. I will say, Errol, I don't think it is just the numbers that President Trump will be pointing to on the immigration front. It's also the makeup of individuals who are crossing our border. As you know, there is currently a story in the media about Tajik nationals, for example, being arrested who had crossed our border irregularly, but being rearrested based upon evidence that could potentially link them to terrorism. So I do think President Trump will be fixated on pointing to known or suspected terrorists crossing our border and the threat that poses to the American people.
It's interesting, Sam, because I reported on that story for the CBS Evening News. I believe it was last week. Very little was known then, but that was the leading question. How were these nationals able to get into the U.S. legally and had been vetted before new information emerged that caused concern? I'm wondering if there are any other major homeland security issues that you would expect to hear tonight other than the border. I mean, or maybe you're going to say, look, it's all about the border and that's the topic.
There are no shortage of homeland security issues I think both candidates want to focus on. I think President Biden is very focused on the stakes associated with a victory by Mr. Trump and what that would mean for societal divisions here in the United States. I used to run counterterrorism and targeted violence prevention at the Department of Homeland Security, and a big focus for us and for President Biden was the ways in which, for example, inflammatory rhetoric can deepen societal divisions and lead to acts of targeted violence and terrorism. So I do think that President Biden will be focused on pointing to Mr. Trump's record both in office and since leaving office about, for example, freeing January 6 defendants and about deepening those societal divisions that have a direct nexus to violence. I also think that addressing the fentanyl crisis might be something that President Biden seeks to raise, and in addition to Mr. Trump, because of the huge impact it's having on the homeland. So internal divisions within the United States, counter-narcotics will likely be top of mind, at least for President Biden.
And Sam, I want to turn this around a little bit. You know, what are you most curious of from hearing from both candidates? You know so much, you have so much experience. They both now have such a record to really pull from. But what areas are you curious to hear more?
Well, on the Homeland Security front, I'm interested in hearing, again, at a debate level where you don't go into a whole lot of detail, actual plans on how we address our immigration crisis. The Biden administration has rolled out various executive orders and other actions over the past several weeks. Those take time to implement, Errol. And we have a pretty short timeline between now and the election. On Mr. Trump's side, he has made a lot of promises when it comes to irregular immigration, including, for example, mass deportations. But I would be quite curious to hear where he plans to deport everyone to, because many of these individuals come from countries that won't take them back. And on the foreign policy side, there are big differences between President Biden and Mr. Trump when it comes to, example, Russia and Ukraine or the NATO alliance. On Ukraine, Mr. Trump has not made as steadfast a commitment to Ukraine's security, to say the least. And Mr. Trump has also said that he would not come to the defense of NATO allies who didn't meet their spending commitments. So I'm quite curious to see whether Mr. Trump provides more specificity on those foreign policy matters and how both candidates answer the specifics on the immigration front.
Well, Sam, I hope you excuse me by including you as a fellow policy nerd and wonk, really wanting to hear the details.
You figured me out. Yes, you figured me out.
I, too, want to hear the details out of tonight, and hopefully we do get there. Sam Vinograd, thanks so much. Appreciate the insight.